Before I continue, I'd like to do a quick recap of the part 1 of this game. While both players were building up their base, Cannonball took an early tech switch to Reapers and left his tech lab then for his factory to start pumping siege tank. In the meanwhile, he teched straight through to starports to get this medevac to get a drop on this island. There he put up a contain and killed a lot of the units of the fruit merchant with his siege tanks. While the fruit merchant was contained on this side, he expanded twice to the south player's position. In the end, the fruit merchant decided he couldn't do anything with his zerglings and to get rid of this contain, and he just sent them in to put on some pressure. Zerglings quickly surrounding those units, trying to run into the base, but 3 marines correctly placed, or just lucky that they came out at the right time, but he was able to fend off those zerglings. The fruit merchant still trying to get rid of this contain. Now more mutalisks coming in, spinecrawler sniping out those marines one by one, 2 hitting them, and those mutalisks will be able to clean up this contain easy mode. Queen up at the expansion, and SCV finding out that there is currently an expo over here, and how is Cannonball going to react to this? In the meanwhile, we have a Ling Muta army on the way to the main base, while Cannonball is moving out his forces to clean up his opponent's expansions. While Cannonball's moving in, the fruit merchant also moves in and runs straight through to all the tech buildings. After almost killing this expansion, the Cannonball decides to go defend his main instead of attack it. All those SCVs making a wall to fend off as good as possible, while these mutas try to run away for all the incoming marines. Both forces staying quite equal through the entire fight, so both players killing off. I think the fruit merchant came up on top because he did damage to the main base, and here the hatchery is still alive. And actually he still doesn't, oh, he does know now there is also, he does already know there's also, oh wow, sorry, that was one of, anyhow. Mutalisk still trying to engage here, trying to search for tech buildings, trying to go for the mineral lines, no, running away because there is a turret. Here we have expansions getting cleaned up by a Cannonball. Zerglings coming in, army of mutas coming in, is probably not gonna make it, not enough Vikings in the air to counter this amount of mutas, and with all the zerglings hitting in on the marines, this army is cleaned up quite easy. The medevacs getting taken down, and at the moment both players are just rebuilding their base forces. They both had quite a hit. I still think the fruit merchant came out on top because he didn't have his main harassed and still could continue producing income at full at all times. I didn't look at this tab earlier, but I know I should have. But now I think for almost all game the fruit merchant is in an economic advantage. By far, those mules tip by it sometimes, but even if he's going for a mineral build, now they have the same, but the fruit merchant is massing up way more gas. We'll see how this works out. The fruit merchant coming in with a large army of mutalisks and zerglings, while we have this army of marines and a single hellion moving out. Mutalisk now trying to take down the starport, while the marines killing zerglings here. Very nice job on the hellion, taking it in from behind. All the zerglings get killed. I don't know if there's any mutalisk lost, but they tried to save their fellow zerglings, but they didn't succeed. Zerg forces grouping up here, while the zerglings are serving as meat shields. Those mutalisk trying to get some free hits off those on those marines. Overlord's now going down, since they both lost so many units. It's not that bad, but I'm actually surprised by the amount of the fruit merchant has lost, because he was mining on 4 bases all time, but he was kind of suiciding his units. And here we see some banelings clean up the rest of those marines. The mutalisks and the queens will be able to snipe out most of those medevacts. And currently both players still able to macro up about the same amount of army. Marines now moving in, trying to take out the second expansion till they find the first one back up again. Some mutas doubting if they should enter, but they didn't, because I think it's a good choice, waiting for some of those zerglings to take the first few hits. Hatchery almost down to 80 HP. Who will win this fight? Last marine or the muta? The marine or the muta? Zerglings coming out, killing the marine. Another army of marines walking out, and still both players able to macro up quite a bit, the same amount of army all game long. The last 80 HP going down. The roach is now coming out for the fruit merchant, really changing his build to whatever his opponent has. The fruit merchant currently upside down because so many overlords are taken down, and now we have a big army of roaches and banelings coming in, trying to defend this position against a handful of marines. Suiciding those zerglings again to get off as less hits as possible on those mutas. I'm not sure why he sent them in that early, because those roaches could handle those marines easy mode, but he lost 2 extra, probably in the heat of battle. Now the fruit merchant massing up his forces, trying to go for a bit of a retreat, not knowing that his enemy army is on the move again, but moving back as well. A Cannonball finally going for a 3rd expansion. Stay tuned and come back for part 3 of this replay.